Welcome everyone. Today I'm going to be talking about a game that was quite popular early December in the YouTube and gaming community. A game that seemed to revolutionize the idea of indie games. I'm talking about none other than Choo-Choo Charles. This game has been out for exactly a month now and I wanted to do a little review on it. At its release, Choo-Choo Charles gained the attention of a lot of indie gamers as well as popular YouTubers, most of who have their own playthrough on Choo-Choo Charles. It's always nice to see a small indie game in the spotlight of what we consider mainstream. No doubt about it, Choo-Choo Charles needed to have a niche to actually make it into the mainstream. And today I'm going to be talking about the overall reception of the game and my opinion after a month of it being released. So let's get straight into it. First of all, I wanted to talk about referring back to my earlier point of Choo-Choo Charles needed to have a niche to make it mainstream. Now, what is this niche, you may ask? Well, let me tell you. You see, Choo-Choo Charles has a very specific idea of what a game should consist of. What I'm trying to say is only an indie game would make a game about a crazy man-eating homicidal trained spider hybrid, as this is a unique, some people may even say a silly concept. But I would say that the developer managed it quite well and made quite an entertaining game. For me at least, it seemed like Choo-Choo Charles did exactly what indie games strive to do and worked with what they have. It may not be much, it may just be a silly concept, but with enough dedication, they can make it work. As the game very well demonstrates, you can take any concept really and develop it into something interesting. A homicidal trained spider hybrid chasing you about isn't all that, but once you start adding more ideas, it starts sounding a lot better. Navigate an open world island in an old train, upgrade it over time and use it to fight an evil spider train named Charles. This is the game's description on its Steam page. It sounds fun and maybe if I'll play this game, I'll actually enjoy it. And with that thought, I started playing the game. Graphically, the game is pretty decent for an indie game. There's a neat little environment which contains consistent rain, fog and thunderstorms. This, in addition to its low contrast and vibrancy, makes it very difficult to determine if Charles is coming in for an attack. This always creates a sense of unease inside of me. The design for Charles looks really good and terrifying. The NPCs did lack graphically, but I wasn't really expecting for more. I do have to say that frame-wise it is very inconsistent. I have what I would consider a good PC and it struggled to run this game. Give or take a few settings, I was able to get the game to run well, however some optimization would be much appreciated. Now let me talk a little bit about the gameplay. First of all, I just want to say I absolutely love the idea of having an old train that you can upgrade and travel around the map with. I've never seen anything like this before and it's a very fun gameplay mechanic. As you upgrade the armor of your train, visually it starts to change. All of a sudden, metal reinforcement, horns and spikes begin to appear, creating a very menacing look for your old train. In addition to this, you can always upgrade the speed, which helps a lot with getting around the map quickly. You can upgrade the amount of damage that your weapons do. Yes, weapons. When I first played this game, I thought there was only going to be a machine gun. But I was pleasantly surprised with a rocket launcher, a flamethrower and an artillery cannon. You can't use these weapons all at once, but it's still cool how many of them there are. You will have to go on different NPC weapon missions to claim these. All of these upgrades that I've mentioned can only be done with the use of scrap, which is found all around the island. You will seriously find heaps of this everywhere. The developer was very generous. Not even halfway through the game you could probably max out your train just by the amount of scrap you can find. Some can be found just dotted around the place, but the majority of it you will have to talk to NPCs and do their missions. Some of these NPC missions are optional, however others are mandatory for completing the story. I feel like the amount of traveling in your train and on foot gameplay is well balanced. I do have to say that while on foot you are quite slow and the map similarity gets quite tedious at times. If Charles catches you lacking when you're not near your train, you're pretty much dead. But for some NPCs you will have to be on foot for a considerable amount of time. The idea that this is an open world game and Charles can be anywhere is done very well. His distinct sounds can be heard all around the map and a good way of telling how near he is to you. The NPC missions are quite straightforward, if anything they are stupidly easy. However, their personality and voice lines do make them worth listening to. Some NPC missions can be quite repetitive, however some of them can be quite unique. The game mechanics are clearly explained in a way that even though you're thrown straight into the deep end at the beginning, you do not feel lost. You have enough time to get in grips with them and be confident to use them to survive. The combat is quite tense and in my opinion some of the best moments of the game. These are probably the most difficult segments of the game in addition to the cave segments, as you are required to repair your train while swapping out weapons as they overheat very quickly. All this while Charles is 10 centimeters from you and constantly clawing at your train doing mass amounts of damage. This seems like a game that was quite fun to be developed. Did I mention the fact that this game was primarily only made by one person? Taking that into consideration, it makes the end product even more impressive. During my entire playthrough, I'm pretty sure I didn't experience a single bug. Maybe I was just lucky, or maybe the game's generally polished. The map is quite large with quite the plethora of buildings. There are strongholds to invade, cave systems to explore, and lakes to cross. There's a railway that goes pretty much throughout the entire map, making your old little train very useful for traversing around the map. All in all, the gameplay is very nice. I enjoyed it a lot and I think you guys would too. Now let me just put you through a short little recap of the lore of this game. Little spoiler alert that it's not on par with Red Dead or God of War. You see, a person, an investigator, is hired to come over to an island where a murderous train is running rampant. You are greeted by a man named Eugene who tours you a little bit around the island and introduces you to the core mechanics. Eugene is not with you for very long, but you see, you're more than an investigator, you're more of a monster hunter actually, so you hop on the machine gun and you start firing away at Charles. But Choo-Choo Charles is not the only evil lurking on the island. This also includes Warren Charles, who is the local capitalist of the island in charge of a massive mining company. Now Warren is a bad man as he dug up some eggs which contain an ancient evil, which is a train/spider hybrid. Your job is to, by any means, use tools at your disposal to eliminate Choo-Choo Charles. This mining company has formed sort of a cult around the island. This makes them another enemy NPC in addition to Choo-Choo Charles. And that's a basic summary of what you should expect from this game. A witty, fun horror action. A game that doesn't take itself too seriously and neither should you. It's a good bit of fun if you're up for fighting Charles. That is if you want to pay the hefty price of $16.75. I understand the game had much effort put into it with a small budget, however the price is still a bit high for me. I recommend getting this game if it's on sale. The reason why I don't think it's worth that price is because the game is very short. I mean, you could 100% this game, do every single mission including the optional ones, unlock everything, max out everything in under 3 hours. For that, I don't think it is worth full price at the moment. But at its core, I had to say that playing Choo-Choo Charles was a good experience. A unique concept that I've never heard of before, and it worked out pretty well. In terms of its reception, unsurprisingly, Choo-Choo Charles has gone down in popularity. But we cannot forget that it performed very well for an indie game and its budget. All in all, big ups to 2-Star Games for making Choo-Choo Charles, and I'm looking forward to more projects in the future. That was it for me today guys, I hope you enjoyed the video and I will see you guys later. Goodbye.